Good morning. My name is Lorrie. Welcome to my channel. We are quilters. It is Build a Block Wednesday. We are going to be working on the study in Scarlet quilt. We are going to be making the parts and pieces for this Drunkard's Path block. So today it's all about some curved piecing. I will admit that I did construct a few of these just for practice before I started to film. So I have my fabric here, and I am going to cut a pair of these because, so I'm going to use 2 pieces of fabric. And I know this cutting board isn't quite the right size, but it's all right. And my blocks aren't lining up exactly. It'll be all right too. I'm going to flip them over. It won't really matter, but I want them to be lined up. I don't want to miss part of I'm going to pin, and I'm going to make sure I stay out of my cutting area, because remember, this one has a 1/4 inch seam allowance, because I did create the template in that manner so that I could do specifically this. And I want my pin out of the way. And I'm going to pin across the corner. I'm going to pin it pretty well considering it's just a small piece. And I am also going to pin my other piece. See, there won't be very much waste here. I'm going to pin across the corner so that it's out of the way. And then I'm going to pin around the curve. Lots and lots of pins to keep things from moving. And now I'm going to cut my curves first. And I'm going to use scissors. I am not going to try to cut this with a rotary cutter, even though, knock yourself out, go for it. But I want to make sure that I have a lot of control and I'm not cutting into my template, my pattern. So I'm just cutting 2 at a time. I could cut more. There's no rule saying I couldn't. But just for the sake of doing this on camera, I'm only going to cut 2. And you know, if it's not exactly perfect, it will be all right. We're going to press and trim when we're all done. So there's the waist plus whatever's on the outside edges. Let me unpin a little bit, and I need to get my rotary cutter handy. And I'm going to, oh, sorry about that earthquake. I whacked my head on the camera, on the ring light camera stand. And I'm going to cut away that little bit. And down here at the bottom. So that was not so bad. If you were ever into clothes construction, oh, I didn't do a very good job on that one. Let me fix that up. If you were ever into clothes construction, this will not intimidate you at all. This will be right in that wheelhouse of skills you have. So there I have my convex pieces ready to go. Let me lay those aside. And now let me get the concave pieces ready. Make sure they're all lined up. And if I have to remove a pin, it's all right. I'm not going to keep those pins in for construction anyway. And I'm using the nice flat, I love these flat pins because they are so thin, these quilting pins. have lots of different kinds of pins. And over the years, I have come to appreciate many of them. I should just get another ruler. Hang on. It's not like I don't have bigger rulers. I mean, I could do that with that ruler. I want to line it all up. I want to try not to trim off any of my paper. You could do this with on freezer paper. You could do it on template plastic. You could make these templates any way you want. And there's the waste. Not much at all. Just a little tiny bit. We'll put that in the scrap bucket for fire starters. You unpin. Get the pieces ready here. And now we need to talk about how we are going to construct. So let me do this one first. So, yes, I said so. I'm going to fold it in half so my straight edges meet. I'm going to press a little bit with my finger. I'm going to do the same thing with the concave side. And then I'm going to put my notches together so that I know that that's where they line up. And if I only use one pin, this would be the one. Because I have seen people do this with just one pin. I am not good enough at this because I haven't made tons and tons and tons of these recently that I can use just one pin. So I pin in the middle, and then I come out and I pin, line up my straight edges, and pin a little bit in. I'm pinning in about 1/2 inch right there. And then if I'm not comfortable with just that, I will put one more pin here, and so on. And I'm going to come right around the curve. I'm going to do 2 more pins. Like I said, I have seen people do this with one pin, and it turns out beautifully, and they don't stress, and they're happy, and all is well. So let me pin one more time, right about halfway between the other 2 pins, edges lined up, and I'm going to turn it over. I prefer to sew with the concave piece up. I think that's easier, but I have been watching videos on constructing this to see what other people do. There are tons of videos out there. So if this isn't enough, please watch other videos. Some of them are very short. I'm going to sew along here and pull the pins out as I go. So let me get you over to the sewing machine and let's get this done. Are you ready? Here we go. I'm going to grab my stiletto just in case. Now as I feed this in, I want to make sure my sides are flush because I pinned 1/2 inch back. So my sides might not be completely flush. And if you want to back stitch here, you can. I'm not going to because I am going to trim, and it will not matter if there is a back stitch there or not. See, I see that it has moved a little, so I'm going to use my stiletto. I want to make sure I have no creases and weird things as I go. So I pull out the pins as I go, and I use my stiletto to hold it over to the 1/4 inch, and I just sew slowly. And I saw on one of the videos that they have their stitch length set very small so that it makes good and accurate stitches and the curve works out wonderfully. So now I'm to the center, and as I start around the back part of the curve, I use my stiletto to hold it in place, but I make sure I don't go under the needle. And as I approach the next pin, I pull it out. So this is until you get used to doing this, and the lady that I saw making these, who had made bunches of them, she was just whipping them right through because she knew exactly how it should look and feel. Practice makes things go much easier. I see this isn't lining up, but I am not going to stress about it. It will be close enough to perfect. Okay, let's use a thread amoeba. Don't know where they've all gotten to. I usually keep 2 thread amoebas handy to shove through. Oh, there's the other one laying right there. My husband would be saying something like snake bite, because I wouldn't see it. So when I open it up, it does look very good. We'll lay this one over there to press and take care of in just a few minutes. Let's try the second one with let's try the 1 pin method. So I have my crease, because I still crease it, and the only place I'm going to pin is in the middle. This could be a disaster on camera, or it could work out well. So I have my creases, laying them together, and here we go. The sun is absolutely streaming through the window here. So let's try this with 1 pin in the center for both. And I don't care to move out of the sun. So to sew it, I need to flip it over because I prefer to do that side first. I'm going to line up my edges. Boop. And I'm going to put it under the foot. If I need to, I'm going to use my little stiletto. You know, you can use a pin the same way. And then as I go, I'm going to take my time and sew my 1/4 of an inch. And flatten and straighten and flatten and straighten. So slowly take my time, and when I get close to the pin, then I will pull it out. And around we go. Oop. I don't want a crease there, so I'm going to pull it a little bit at the back side to get rid of any chance of a crease, because we don't want that. Because if there's a crease, that means we need to pick it out and try again. Now I see this is where the difficult part is this last little bit. And I don't want it to crease there. I'm going to get my fingers in there and give it a little tuggy pull. Oh, I see it went a little off, but it will be all right. Use my thread amoeba, and then I will pull it loose so we can flip it and see. And no tucks, no weird pulls. That was pretty easy. Let's go back over to the cutting mat and ironing center, and we will take care of finishing up these 2 sections. So yesterday, while I was practicing, I discovered that it is probably easiest to iron these from the back. And I know that's counterintuitive. And you can iron them either way, whichever, it depends on how you want the front to pop up. I really don't care at this point. So I'm ironing the convex shape out, and then I am flipping to the front and giving it the press. So sometimes the teal will be the underside, sometimes the purple, and then I press it out. I saw one video where the lady pressed those seams open. She clipped the seams. Now, if you press it this way, I really don't think you need to do any clipping. It lies pretty flat. So my final step is to trim them up. So I have my ruler, like I showed you last week. I had to go back and mark the line because I marked it last week with a plate, and somehow it was not even here, and I didn't even notice. So I went back and I used I used the piece that had no seam allowance, and I laid it on there and I marked it correctly. So now all I have to do is line up the line and do a little bit of trimming, and I have the perfect Drunkard's Path piece ready to set into a block. Isn't that I'm amazed. And it turned out just as well using a bunch of pins and using one pin and a stiletto to guide the way. So next week, as I'm finishing this up, I will talk. Next week, I am going to, before I join my blocks into the Drunkard's Path, I'm going to show examples of the different layouts you could do with these pieces. In case you don't want a Drunkard's Path, you want something different. So, I hope you enjoyed this very quick little curved piece tutorial. It's not as hard as you'd think, but you can let your non-quilting friends think that you slaved and worked for hours to create such beauty and magnificence. Don't tell them that it was quick and easy. I will see you on Friday for Blabfest. Have a great day. Thank you again, Anne, for sharing your finished block with us. It is wonderful.